So, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self control. Against such things there is no law. Now, today I want to look at that word faithfulness. And unfortunately, we've translated this word to faithfulness and continue to do so. I'm not sure why, because it's the same word that is for faith in Greek. In fact, I was planning something totally different, and I read through this and I look into the Greek and I see that this is the word for faith. I mean, it really should just be faith, not faithfulness. And that makes a difference because faith is a gift. This particular fruit of the Spirit is cultivated by God, um, and given by God. In fact, actually, if we look at Ephesians 2:8-9, we see, "For by grace you have been saved through faith, and it is not your own doing, it is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast." So this faith is not something that you did. This is not something that you create. You don't get to make faith, but only God can give you faith, and that is up to Him and how much He gives you. Your faith is something that He builds up in you. And so with this, what does that look like? What does faith look like? And so in Hebrews, the writer of Hebrews tells us, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Unfortunately, this verse then has caused lots of folks to lead to the idea that faith is blind, and concentrate more on blind faith, which is a huge problem because faith ought not to be blind. Faith is based in something. We'll take a look real quick in Romans to see exactly where that comes from. But if you were to read through Hebrews 11, just take the time someday, read through Hebrews 11, and you get to see the examples of what faith looks like through the through the characters of the Old Testament, and so you can kind of get a good overview. But one thing I kind of want to point out is that this is a predecessor to your life changing. We say as Christians that if you believe that Jesus is Lord, you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord. That act of faith is you are confessing what you believe that God has showed to you, that has revealed to you, and you believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead. These are acts of faith. The vast majority of Christians throughout the ages did not see the risen Lord, did not see him, did not, we didn't see that. But does that make our faith blind? No. In fact, actually, it's from the testimony of the witnesses. It's from the acknowledgement that the lives of the men and women who were there and did see were changed radically, and that there was in them a conviction. And so our faith is built on what others saw and what others shared with us. And if you look back at I heard something very interesting last night, and it was just brilliant. The book of Exodus is the story where God uses Moses to lead the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt, goes through the plagues and through the Red Sea, and then leads them into the wilderness where he gives Moses the law, in particular the Ten Commandments. But what was pointed out, and by a brilliant professor named John Lennox, that if you look at that story, it is the faith that precedes the law. It is the faith that leads the people to accept the sacrifice of the lamb, to spread the blood of the lamb on the door frames. That way, when the angel of the Lord came over in the 10th plague, that God saw their faith. He saw their faith by who put the believe that this would work, that this sacrifice was enough, and passed over them. This is the beginning of Passover. And so he sees our faith, and he sees our hearts. And when we have faith in the sacrifice, and when we have faith in the sacrifice that Jesus provided, that was enough, that is when our salvation comes. And then from that, after that faith, then we are called and given the law. And that is what changes our life radically. And so we don't need to follow the law to have the faith. That's not where it is. The faith comes first, and then after that, we are changed from the inside. And that's what leads to our desire to follow the law, to be more like God. And so in Romans 10:17, Paul tells us that faith comes from hearing, and hearing through the word of Christ. If you want to see your faith develop, then you need to be in the word of Christ. You need to be reading your Bible. You need to be taking it all in. You need to be committed to this, because then you're going to start seeing things. You're going to start putting it together, and you're going to understand how everything works together. You're going to understand the power of God, because if you understand the power of God, then you won't be doubting things. If you understand that the creator of the universe, who called the universe out of nothing, if God could perform that miracle, what else could he do? And so when he works in you, when he calls you to something, and you believe that this is the same God who made the heavens and the earth, made everything that is seen from stuff that is unseen, if you could believe that, then what is, going to get in the way from you believing that God can, lead you to something else? Because that miracle, even if it were a miracle that you were to do something, say speak to somebody or whatever, share the message of Christ, if that he can lead you through that, yeah, of course he can. This is the God of the universe here, people. So read your Bible, dig deep. That is how you prepare inside of you the land. Okay, your job is to cultivate your land inside of you, so that way God can plant the faith. He can increase the faith. He can put in that mustard seed of faith that will grow inside of you. That is how you develop your faith.